Hey my friends, Kirby here of KirbyAndersen.com. Hey, let me start off and just ask you a question. Have you ever found yourself dreaming of something that is so much more than anything of what you've been experiencing up till this time, or maybe even experiencing right now? I mean, you're grateful for everything that you have going on in your life, but you just have this sense that there is something greater, something even better that is available. Or perhaps you're at the other end of the spectrum and you've just stopped dreaming. You've settled, you've just accepted the fact that this income level that you're at right now, your job, your marriage, your relationship with your kids, that basically this is just as good as it gets. Well, the good news and the bad news is you're right. And that's why I want to talk with you today about your first action step towards the life that you really want. And I want to assure you today that you can do this. You have it within your power to take this step towards that something better. But the reality is, only you can do this. And it all has to do with what I consider to be a genuine God-given superpower. And it is revealed in an old book out of the Bible in Deuteronomy chapter 30. In fact, I like to think of this little story as almost being an ancient version of the Price is Right TV show. Moses was actually the predecessor, in this case to Bob Barker and to Drew Carey. And so what we find in this story here is that Moses is about ready to hand over the reins of leadership to his apprentice, Joshua, and Joshua is going to lead the nation of Israel into this promised land, this land that God had promised to give them that was going to be flowing with milk and honey, a land that represented abundance, stuff above and beyond anything that they'd ever experienced, more than what they could imagine, more than what they have dared to dream. So Moses calls the whole nation together and he presents to them these two spiritual doors. And he's saying you're going to get to choose between door number 1, door number 2. Now let me tell you what's behind door number 1. Door number 1 represents life, blessings. Door number 2, however, is death and curses. Now you're going to have to choose. And I'm sure that you're thinking the same thing that I always think when I read this is like, man, that is the most ridiculous choice. There's no choice there. I wish all of my choices would be this easy. But the reality is they still had to choose, and so do you, and so do I. I genuinely believe that one of the greatest gifts that God has given to each and every one of us is this power to choose, and it really is a superpower. We can choose to believe that no matter how good our lives have been, how good they are right now, that there is something even greater that we can work towards. Or we can just choose to accept the status quo and believe that this is as good as it gets, that nothing that we do is ever going to change that. Either way, you can have what you choose. I like to say this a lot. You've probably heard me. Life is more about choices than it is about chances. It is so true. But so often we have this tendency to blame other people, to blame our parents, to blame the side of the tracks that we grew up in, to blame how much money we have, to blame our genetic makeup, to blame whatever it is that we don't like in this life on other people, on other things. But the truth of the matter is that we are more the end result of the choices that we have made up until this time, rather than the sum total of all those things that have happened to us. You see, if you just simply believe the latter, that you can't really help where you're at right now, you're a victim. That's a victim mentality, and all that says is that I can't help this, it's not my responsibility, I can't do anything about this, and that's a horrible way to live, my friends. You don't want to be a victim. I'm not trying to minimize the disadvantages that you may have experienced in your life. I know that there's been a lot of people who've probably done you wrong. They've done me wrong. There's a lot of things that happen in our lives that we wouldn't choose, that are unfair. But it doesn't have to determine the rest of your life. It's true. You can't control everything. You can't control everything that happens to you, and people and events, they do affect us. But even though you can't choose everything that happens to you, you can choose how you are going to respond to it. And those choices, my friends, are the things that are really going to make the difference in your life. Now, my former virtual mentor for many, many years, the great Zig Ziglar, used to tell about how he chose for over 24 years of his adult life to weigh over 200 pounds. Now, for some of us, over 200 pounds may not be overweight, but it was for Zig. It certainly would be for me. And he says that he chose to weigh that. Why would he say such a thing? Well, this is the reason why I love Zig Ziglar, is because he says, because I chose this because I don't ever remember eating anything accidentally. I absolutely love that. He goes on and says, the reality is that when I choose to eat too much today, I have chosen to weigh too much tomorrow. Every choice has an end result. Now, you may be wishing for a lot of things in your life. A lot of things were different. You might wish that you had a better job, that you had more money, that you lived in a better house, in a different neighborhood. You might wish that you weighed less. You might wish that you had a better relationship with your wife or with your kids. And then a guy like me comes along and just says, you can change all of that. You can have those things. You can choose. But immediately our mind comes up and says, oh, I really want to believe that, but it's so hard. And maybe that would work for other people, but I don't know if I have what it takes. I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the resources. I don't know the right people. I can't do it. Again, you're probably right, because it's all about what you choose. Now, I've found that our power of choice is a lot like the muscles in our body, and you understand that if you work your muscles and exercise them regularly, consistently, you're going to make them so much stronger. However, inactivity leads to weakness. It is the same thing with your choose muscle. You can learn how to flex that choose muscle and make it stronger. And the way that you do that is just by starting to flex your choose muscle in simple things in life. Today, you could just choose what it is you're going to eat. You could choose that you're not going to have that donut. You're going to choose not to have that extra dessert. You're going to choose to drink a glass of water instead of another soft drink, or perhaps you're going to choose to take the stairs instead of the elevator. You might choose to get up just a little bit earlier today so that you can start off by sewing into yourself and not starting off the day rushed like 98% of the rest of the world. You could actually choose today not to say everything that pops into your mind, choosing not to say everything that you feel about that person. That might be an excellent choice to make. So what I'm asking you is, what is it that you're wishing were different in your life? What have you found yourself complaining about lately? That's a good place to start. Or what are the things that you have found yourself telling other people that you wish you could have or that you wish you could do? Every great step forward all begins with a choice. You don't have to settle. You don't have to be a victim of circumstances or other people. You can choose to flex this choose muscle instead of just waiting for chances to come along. You can do it, but only you can do it. Man, I hope this was helpful. I just preached myself happy today. I didn't start off in the greatest way today, and I had to make the exact same choices that I'm encouraging you to do. I hope that revved your engines. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd be glad to send other ones as soon as they come hot off the press to your email inbox. If you just go over to my website, KirbyAndersen.com, subscribe to my email newsletter, and we'll make that happen. I want you to make good choices today. Choose to live better, to love more, to leave the legacy that you desire. Stay on target, my friends, and have an amazing day.